We continue now at the top of Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph and Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zarah Daf 12a. On the previous summit, the Mishnah said that outside of a city, let's say within the city, they worship a certain Avodah Zara on a certain holiday, but outside of the city, they do not. So you are allowed to conduct business transactions with those people who are outside of the city. And on the previous summit, Reish Lakish asked Rabbi Chanina, what about the marketplace that's right outside of Aza? Is that considered to be enough outside of the city that you can engage in business transactions with those residents, again, of that marketplace? And so the Gemara says that the response was, and this is the response of Rabbi Chanina to Reish Lakish, did you ever go to Tzur and you saw a Jew and a non-Jew, sheshavsu shtei kederos al gabe kirachas, that they placed two pots on top of one stove, v'lo chashul hem chachamim, and the chachamim were not concerned about that, and the idea over here is that's why in this case as well, it would be mutter, but the Gemara wants to clarify exactly what does it mean that the chachamim were not concerned. The Gemara is going to bring various amoraim to explain this. Ma'ilo chashul hem chachamim, what does it mean that the chachamim were not concerned? Amar Abaya says, Mishum Besar Nevela. We're not concerned about Besar Nevela. Lo Amrina Dilma Mahader Apa Yisrael Achori, meaning to say we're not concerned that maybe the Jew turned around, Veshadi Ovid Kochavim Nevela B'Kedera, and the Ovid Kochavim, the idol worshipper, tossed some Nevela, some non-kosher, into the pot. We're not concerned about that. The Chavas Hachanami, the same thing is true over here by the marketplace outside of Aza. Lo Chashulem Chachavim Mishum Demei Avodas Kochavim. The Chachavim were not concerned about the money of Avodas Kochavim, the money of idol worshippers, and we're going to see Rashi in a moment exactly what this answer is and how it differs from the answers that are coming up. Rava says, Ma'ilo chashul hem chachamim. What does it mean that the chachamim were not concerned, again, by the two kederos that are on one kira? It means mishum bishulei ovdei kochavim. They're not concerned that it's going to be cooked by the idol worshipper. To chavas hachanami, then you would compare it to our case as well. Lo chashul hem chachamim mishum yom edam. The chachamim were not concerned because of yom edam, which is the day of their holiday. Again, we will see Rashi. And finally, the last approach, Rabba Bar Ula Amar Rabba Bar Ula says, Lo chashu lem chachamim mishum tzinora. The chachamim were not concerned for the splatter in the case of the two pots. The chavasa chanami lo chashu lem chacham mishum lifnei edein. And the way we'd compare that to our case is over here also. The chachamim were not concerned in terms of the days before the holiday. And Rashi explains, V'lo chashu chachamim, the chachamim were not concerned again about the two pots. Afal pisha samach iser eitzel heter mode, even though you have non-kosher very close to the kosher. Hachanami here also, Afal pisha b'nei ho'ir ho'asur, and even though the people of the city, where there is a prohibition there, because they're worshiping on this holiday of theirs, smuchin livnei chutzel, and they're very close to the people who live right outside of the city, she'ein lahem avodas kochavim hayom, and the people outside of the city, they do not have an Avodah Zara this day. It's not a day of worship for them. Lo chashu, still there's no concern. My lo chashu. And so then the Gemara asked, what exactly do you mean by lo chashu? Iko lemeimar b'shtei kederos delay lefhacha dechavase. What exactly is it that we're not concerned about by the two pots, that we're now going to have an analogy to this case over here? The first approach was the approach of Abaya. He said, mishum besar nevela. We're not concerned about non-kosher, again, that the Jew is going to turn around, and then the non-Jew, the idol worshiper, is going to throw in the nevela. V'alfagav de iko lemechash le'isr deoraisa. What Abaya is saying is, even though there's a concern at a deoraisa level, lo chashu still, they were not concerned, and they did not assume there's an Isser in this particular situation due to the doubt. And then we're going to transfer that to our case. Again, it's an analogy. Hachanami over here also. Lo mechazkinon demei avodas kochavim bidei ovdei kochavim shebechutzala. We are not concerned, or we don't have a chazaka. We don't presume that there's the money of the avodas kochavim, meaning the money of the idol worship is not in the hands of the ovdei kochavim, of the non-Jews who are outside of the city. Because if they had that money of Avodah Zara, it would be usher then to sell them an animal. Because the money that he'd be receiving from them for this animal, that would be money of Avodah Zara. Because the behema today is for those who are inside of the city, meaning it might be used for those inside the city for worship. Because today that's what's happening with the animals. They're being brought today as Avodah Zara. Now that would actually be an Isser Doraisa if he's taking money like that. I mean, Lo Yidbak B'Yarcha Mu'uma, that would be an Isser Doraisa from the pasuk of Lo Yidbak B'Yarcha Mu'uma Min HaCheirim, as the pasuk says in Sefer Devarim. V'Kol Shekein Heicha D'Yadinon D'Mishal Chutza Lahain. Now, certainly in a situation where we know that it's from the people outside of the city, to L'Safik Isura D'Rabbanan Lo Chayshinan, then already your concern would only be at a D'Rabbanan level. In other words, if we're not concerned of the Oraisa even, we're not even concerned that the money you're getting is actually from money inside outside from people inside of the city, certainly we're not going to be concerned if we know that the money is from the people outside of the city, because that's only at the level of Isser D'Rabbanan. D'neima dilma haygavra shayich basar b'nei tocha v'have hayom yom edo v'avar haygavra D'Rabbanan da'asri liyisrael lases v'lases imam b'yom eid. In other words, maybe we should say that this particular person that he's doing business with is really somebody who does worship on that holiday together with the people inside of the city, and it would really be the day of his holiday, and then there would be a transgression of an Isser D'Rabbanan, that it's also for a Jew to do business with this person because it's the day of his holiday. We're for sure not going to be concerned with that, because the whole point over here is we're not even concerned with the Doraisa issue. We're not even concerned that maybe this money actually is money for Avodah Zara. And Rashi continues, Rava Amar, Rava says, Rava gave a second answer to understanding Rabbi Chanina's answer. When we're saying that by the two pots they weren't concerned, it's not that they weren't concerned for Besar Nevela, for non-kosher. Then again, we would learn, like Abaya said, that over here we're not going to be concerned for the D'Oraisa, that maybe this money that's being used to purchase the animal actually came from those people inside the city who are buying the animal for the purpose of Avodah Zara. Less hanoah lo'ovet kochavim to nishti nevela l'kter, because you can't really compare the two. Because over there's no benefit for the ovet kochavim. If he's going to throw a nevela into the pot, he gets no benefit out of that. Why would he do that? The mistafi di chazi la yisrael tavalei bedin. On the contrary, he's afraid that if the Jew sees him do that, then he's going to take him to court. Aval hacha, but over here, miskavin ovet kochavim lasos ratzon chavera. The ovet kochavim, the idol worshiper, he wants to do what his friend wants. Alahachi kamar, rather, what the answer of Rabbi Chanina was saying was as follows. They weren't concerned with these pots close together that maybe it would be cooked by the Ovdei Kochavim, would be cooked by the non-Jew. And maybe again it's going to be a situation where he's going to give it over, he's going to put the pot by the Oved Kochavim, and then it's going to be Bishul Akum, which is a D'Rabbanan. And here also the analogy is we're talking here where we know that the money came, it for sure did not come from people in the city. It came from this person outside of the city. We're just saying in a situation where there's no concern of Isser Doraisa. If there was a concern of Isser Doraisa, then maybe there actually would be a concern. But in a situation where there is no concern of Isser Doraisa, according to Rava's interpretation, the point is we're not concerned of the Isser D'Rabbanan. Again, that's a situation where we know there's no concern for Doraisa. What does it mean, D'Rabbanan? Misham Yomedam, we're not concerned that maybe it's the person's holiday. Maybe this idol worshiper that you're dealing with, maybe he does celebrate this holiday along with those in the city, and then that would be a violation of the D'Rabbanan of doing business with this person who it's his holiday. And finally, the last interpretation of Rabbi Chanina's answer, Rabbi Barula says, it's not true. On the day of the holiday of the people who live in Aza, Rabbi Chanina would not allow you to do business with the people in the marketplace right outside of Aza. It's not similar to the two pots. There's no concern about Bishul Akum, because as long as the Jew works with the coals even for one moment, it's not a problem of Bishul Akum. It's not considered cooked by the non-Jew. Here you really do have a concern. Maybe this particular non-Jew really does celebrate this holiday because it's very close to the city. And when the Mishnah says that outside of the city it's mutter lav besmucha kuli haikamer, it doesn't mean that it's so close like this marketplace. Rabbi Chanina lifnei day and hudashayin. All Rabbi Chanina is saying is that the days before the holiday it's permitted to do business with these people outside of the city. V'hachi kamar means as follows: Lo chashulam chachamim l'shem nitzet sinura mitoch kederes over kochavim. The chacham were not concerned that maybe there'd be some splatter that goes from the pot of the non-Jew l'soch kederes Yisrael into the pot of the Jew. Hol v'isser kalhu. That's a very lenient isser anyhow, so we're not concerned with it. First of all, it's not common. And even if it was common, batal baruba would be nullified in a majority. So to here too we're not going to be concerned for the prohibition of those who are outside, even though it is very close. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, what's the halacha in terms of going to a city where they're worshipping Avodah Zara on that particular day? It's the holiday. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Again, you have a city where they're worshipping Avodah Zara on that day. Asr likones l'soch, it is asr to enter into that city. V'lo mitocha li'ir acheres, it's also asr to go from there to another city. Divrei Rabbi Meir, these are the words of Rabbi Meir. V'chachamim omer, the chachamim say, Kol zman shahaderech miyuchedes lo so makom. If the road that he's traveling on only goes to that place where they're worshiping the Avodah Zara, then asr, then it's forbidden. But ein haderech miyuchedes lo so makom. But if the road is not only going to that place, it could be he's going somewhere else. So then mutter, then it would be mutter, it'd be permitted. Yashav lo kotes b'fnei avodas kochavim. Let's say a thorn, it goes into, let's say, his foot, and it's right in front of an Avodah Zara. If he bends down to take out the thorn, it's going to look like he's bowing to the Avodah Zara. So lo yishchev yitleni, he shouldn't bend down and take out the thorn. V'mnei shanira k'mishtachave la'avodas kochavim. It looks like he's bowing to Avodah Zara. V'meino nira, but if it doesn't appear that way, we're going to see as the Gemara goes on, it'll explain what does it mean meino nira. Then mutter, then it's going to be mutter. Nispazru lo ma'osa b'fnei avodas kochavim. Similarly, let's say he drops some coins in front of Avodah Zara, he wants to bend down to pick it up. Lo yishchev yitlem, he should not bend down and take them. V'mnei shanira k'mishtachave la'avodas kochavim. It looks like he's bowing to Avodah Zara. V'meino nira, but again, if he's not seen, mutter, then it's mutter. Mayin hamoshech l'fnei avodas kochavim. Let's say you have a spring that's in front of an Avodah Zara. Lo yishchev v'yishta, he shouldn't bend down to drink from it. V'mnei shanira k'mishtachave la'avodas kochavim. Again, it looks like he's bowing to Avodah Zara. V'meino nira, but if he's not seen, mutter, then it's mutter. Partsuvos hamekalchin mayim lekrachin. Let's say you have faces that spray water to the cities. That's referring to fountains, and it looked like the water was coming out of the, let's say it was a statue, was coming out of the mouth of the statue. Lo yaniach piv al piyam. The person should not put his mouth on the mouth of the statue, v'yishta, and drink. V'mnei shanira k'minashek la'avodas kochavim. It looks like he's kissing the Avodah Zara, so that's why you can't do that. And kayotzebo, similarly, lo yaniach piv al silon. He should not place his mouth on a pipe, v'yishta, and drink, mimnei hasakana, because that poses a danger. And the Gemara says, my eino nira, what exactly does it mean that he's not seen? If it's eino nira, then it's mutter. Ilema delo mischazi. If you're going to say what it means is that he's not seen by anyone doing this, so nobody sees him doing this action, which looks like he's bowing to Avodah Zara. V'amar Rav Yehuda Marab, Rav Yehuda said, the Rav said, Kol mokom she'asru chachamim neimar sa'ayin. Anytime the chachamim say that something is asr because it looks like you're doing something that is prohibited, so afilu b'chadre chadarim asr. So then even if it's in a private room, it's asr. It doesn't matter if no one sees. So that cannot be what the brisa means. So ella ema imeino nira k'mishtachave la'avodas kochavim mutter. Rather, what it means is that if what he's doing does not make it look like he's bowing to Avodah Zara, then it would be mutter. And the Gemara says with tzricha. Now, all of the cases in the brisa are necessary. They all seem to be the same basic case. The thorn, the money, it's all the same idea. Why do we need all of these cases? The Yitana quotes, if we only have the case of the thorn, mishum de'efshar lemezel kameu mishkalei, because there, it's possible he can keep walking and take it out over there, so he shouldn't do it right in front of the Avodah Zara. Avol most, alo efshar, but to get the money, it's impossible. You have to pick it up right there. So aimalo, so over there, I might say that no, it's not going to be prohibited. V'yitana most, now if I only had my money, demamona, that's a situation of money. Avol quotes tzara, but maybe when it's a thorn where the person's actually in pain, so aimalo, so then I would say maybe it's not prohibited. V'yitana hanitar, if we only had those two, mishum deleka sakana, because that doesn't pose a danger. Avol mayan deika sakana, but by the spring of water there's a danger. De'lo shasi mayas, because if he doesn't drink he might die. Aimalo, so I might say over there it's not going to be prohibited. So tzricha, that's why that is necessary. And Rashi explains agabe silon, again the person shouldn't put his mouth to the pipe. Tzinor mechuber bekarka, that's a pipe that's attached to the ground. B'nei sakana, the reason he shouldn't do that is the danger. Shalo yivla aluka. The idea is he shouldn't swallow a leech. The Gemara is going to mention that on the next Amud, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis.